Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. And today I'm going to talk about another very recent release. It's also part of my year-long series on the films of 1973. And this is Robert Redford, Barbra Streisand in The Way We Were, directed by Sydney Pollack from a screenplay by Arthur Lawrence. And this was the fifth highest grossing movie in 1973, so quite a hit. And it also has ranked earlier in this century, it ranked sixth on the AFI top 100 movies that are love stories. So it has a considerable popularity and I suppose enduring quality. And it is a love story that skips about in time. So we cover specific eras of the Spanish Civil War, its effect on college students here in the United States, the World War II, and in the Hollywood blacklist. And it's a love story about opposites, how opposites can attract. So in the college scenes, which in Arthur Lawrence's novel, the original screenplay was Cornell, but they were unable to film at Cornell. We see Barbra Streisand playing a New York City young Jewish woman who is politically committed, a communist, as a matter of fact, in the 1930s. And she is campaigning for support against Franco in the Spanish Civil War. And she is attracted to Joe College, WASP, the big man on campus, Joe College. Athletics, he runs in the in crowd. It's not specifically stated, but when it is a sort of implied that he comes from a wealthy background, and Barbra Streisand does not. But as she crusades in these college days, he admires her passion. This is something that he does not have. And as they get to know each other, he feels like she has something that he really needs, and that's her belief in him. He has ambitions to become a writer. He gets a novel published. He's implied again that he's somewhat lazy, but she'll keep him on the road to achieving his goals. So this is odd. It's a very strong female role, not the strongest male role here, and they had trouble getting Robert Redford to play the part because at times it seems he kind of loses, he kind of lacks a spine, and especially when we get out to Hollywood, where he has sold his novel and all the compromises that you have to make in order to make a film, and he doesn't want to make these compromises, but he wants success. So this is very much based on a woman a young woman that Lawrence knew when he was at Cornell, and he himself suffered through the blacklist. Now, the Robert Redford character is not a communist, nor has he been, and this is in the Hollywood period, nor has he ever been in the Communist Party. He's sort of apolitical, but she's not. Barbra Streisand has left the Communist Party, but it doesn't matter. But what matters is that the screenwriter, is married to somebody who is subversive, who is perceived to be subversive, especially when they go and support the Hollywood 10, which many Hollywood liberals of the day initially did support the Hollywood 10. So there is two releases of this film. Sydney Pollack previewed, on a Friday night, he previewed the final version, what was thought to be the final version, and the audiences didn't like it at all. So overnight, he just took out scenes. He took, many of them are the political scenes, and it cut deep to Streisand's heart because these were some of her favorite scenes. So then, when they showed it Saturday night, all of a sudden the audiences loved it. A lot of these had to do with the end of the final act of the film. And so the film, when it came out in 1973, I did not see it. Why didn't I go to see this? It's not that I didn't like Barbra Streisand. I certainly liked some of the films she was making. I probably saw all the films she was making in that era, except for The Way We Were. I thought she was really good in What's Up, Doc, in On a Clear Day You Can See Forever, a musical that I think is very much underrated, in which Jack Nicholson plays the Robert Redford part. Of all people, if you've ever seen that, it's almost eerie, almost spectral, when Jack Nicholson enters a Barbra Streisand musical, although I don't believe he sings in the film. And Up the Sandbox, The Owl and the Pussycat. I think Streisand had a very, very unique talent for comedy, and she had a shtick, and the shtick could be very funny at times. She doesn't sing here. The Way We Were was a huge hit. I got tired of listening to it. It's probably the song that I get tired of. It wasn't in 1973, was I 24? I didn't care for that kind of singing, where you belt it out. And with, not to say that she isn't a great singer. She certainly is for the genre of music that she sings. And the film did receive Academy Awards. It won for Marvin Hamlisch's musical score, which much of it is derivative of the different versions of the song. It's hummed at times, and Alan Marilyn Bergman wrote the lyrics, and they both won Academy Awards for it. But really, what the movie is about, it's really about movie star charisma. Robert Redford was the most beautiful man in the world in 1973. I can't say that Barbra Streisand was one of the most beautiful women, but in a line that I really like in the film, she says to Redford, kind of sheepishly, "I know I'm attractive, sort of." She goes. She really pulls that line off really well. But I mean, this is the little I don't know what you call it, little pamphlet of pictures from the movie, and you could see that they really do mesh well together. They are clearly opposites, not only in the characters that they play in this movie, but they mesh well together in as being two very different types. And indeed, the best scenes of the film are really the scenes in the opening 2/3 of the film. Well, especially the opening half, where they struggle with their romantic. Redford cannot come to peace with the idea that he needs her. They will never work. We're too different. It's not that he doesn't like her politics. It's just that he doesn't feel this kind of passion for politics. But there's many good moments. I particularly liked the moment in the film when it was announced that Franklin Roosevelt had died, and they are at a party with his friends, Robert Redford's friends, the upper class, and of course the upper class in the U.S. Didn't like Roosevelt at all, so they made jokes about it. And to her, Roosevelt, who she didn't like in the 1930s, she had come to really idolize, as so many Americans did. And he had been elected president, but 4 different times. So it was the only president she ever knew. And it's a very touching moment. I think Streisand really pulls off that scene when she gets very angry at the other people for making fun of FDR and his wife, Eleanor. And there's some really good supporting performers here. I think they're a little bit underused, but we do have Bradford Dillman. Sydney Pollack in the commentary says that this was James Wood's debut film. And I didn't realize that he went back that far to 1973. There's Vivica Lindfors is in the film. Very, again, underused. It's a little bit vague as to who she actually is. This is in the Hollywood sequences. I was struck, she doesn't have much in the film, but I was struck by Susan Blakely, who is sort of one of the extended group of Robert Redford's upper class friends. She's billed here as Susie Blakely. So again, we have both the extended cut. Now, there's a making of documentary, and it shows the scenes that Sydney Pollack had deleted. Now, I believe this comes from sometime in the 1990s, but the extended cut brings back those scenes into the film. So you can choose between the theatrical and the extended cut. They're both in HDR, both in Dolby Vision. But Sydney Pollack's commentary is only on the Blu-ray, which I watched, and the Blu-ray does look great. But let me tell you, this is a beautiful 4K. I mean, the colors are so vibrant, and it's a very colorful movie, and a big production, a big historical recreation. The critical response was very mixed. Pauline Kael, Sydney Pollack, in one of the interviews, the commentary says, he says, well, Pauline Kael kind of liked it, but I read her review. he's really grasping there, but she does say that the film somehow works despite all its flaws. And the basic criticism of the film is the final act, and the final act is rushed. It seems confused. This is where some of the political scenes were taken out. Pollack thinking that it slowed it down, and he wanted a direct line to the final way we were kind of scene. But both ways, I think the final act is just it doesn't mesh nearly as well as the first 2/3 of the film. But overall, I was glad to see it. I didn't see it in '73, and I wasn't going to include this film until it was announced that it was coming out in 4K, and then I thought, well, this is the opportunity to see it in its optimal form, and it definitely, for me at least, it was definitely worth seeing, and also bringing you back, or bringing me back 50 years ago to what it was like in 1970, the way we were. Thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.